financial and HR analyst. Okay, so just give me a moment. I'll bring up my screen and we should be good to go. All right, everyone, welcome once again to another session with HR analytics and financial analytics. So in this particular session, we're going to be exploring how to manage employees and how to also calculate efficiently the cost of maintaining or recruiting these employees. All right. For most of us on this call right now, I know you guys are joining for the very first time, at least for most of us. And for most of us, we are, returning for the second, fourth, or fifth time, right? But before we dive into this particular case study, solve it and get to know exactly what we have in store, I would like each and every one of us to do a little introduction. Let's get to know each other before we dive in, okay? I know I can see your names already, but I want to know first things first. Where are you joining from? What's your name? And if you're joining this session for the very first time, please go ahead and type a 0, okay? And if you're not joining this session for the very first time, please go ahead and type a 1 as well, okay? Just go into the chat session and do that very quickly. Okay, so I can see a 0, Solomon 0, okay? How about the rest of us? Let's keep it coming. All right, so I can see Priscilla is also joining for the very first time as well. Okay. So we have 2 responses so far, but we are going to go ahead, all right? Now, before we look at this case study, like I mentioned, I want us to quickly get to know who we are joining today, especially for those of us that are joining for the first time, right? So we are currently having a session with Tenalytics. Now, Tenalytics is a leading edtech company that focuses on providing specialized training in technology, skills, and delivering comprehensive data consulting services. We've been around for over 5 years, building talent in the areas of technology and also extending the technology workforce. We have helped over 3,000 individuals transition from classrooms with no tech skills into their very first jobs across different areas of tech and across the world. We have individuals that have joined and also landed jobs in UK, US, Canada, Europe, Africa, as well as Asia. And we are committed to making the technology sector more and more accessible through premium, experiential, and hands-on training in data analytics, business analysis, data engineering, DevOps engineering, product design, data science, financial analytics, HR analytics, agile project management, cybersecurity, and AI engineering. Our team of instructors are from leading global companies across the world, and they are going to be bringing their wealth of experience and dedication to delivering an engaging practical learning experience that ensures you receive the maximum value for your investment in the future. Okay, so please let's stay tuned. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is just to go ahead and introduce myself and my co-speaker for tonight, okay, so that we get to know exactly who we have in front of us, who is chatting with us, and who is going to be introducing us to some interesting aspects in HR and financial analytics, okay? Now, my name is Mary Anene. I'm the team lead of the HR Analytics and Financial Analytics department here at Analytics. I have uh, I have a professional experience in the areas of AI, HR, and data analytics with over 6 years of experience across diverse sectors. All right. So, as a team lead of the HR and Financial Analytics Department at Analytics. I specialize in developing data-driven and AI-powered solutions that enhances organizational performance and drives meaningful digital transformation. My professional journey spans across diverse sectors. I've worked in the government sector, NGO, marketing, EdTech, and technology consulting, equipping myself with a broad and grounded understanding of how to apply data and AI that helps businesses solve different kinds of challenges. Now, with this experience and also working with analytics, I've been able to help and train talents, mentor diverse individuals, about 1,000 individuals professionally, guiding them into their careers in tech. All right. Now, aside from, having the knowledge of AI, HR, data, and also helping other individuals transition into tech fully, I am also an advocate for women in tech and data literacy, and also an AI-driven innovator. All right. So today we are actually going to be focusing on the data aspects, which also covers the HR and finance aspect of data. Okay, so that's exactly what we are going to be focusing on. But before we get there, all right, I also want to introduce our special guest today as well, Priscilla Fanama. Priscilla Fanama is our growth catalyst. She's a passionate educator, data expert, career strategist with nearly 5 years of experience in blockchain technology and data analytics. As a growth catalyst at Analytics, Priscilla has dedicated her career in helping individuals navigate to the ever-evolving tech landscape, guiding them in identifying the right career paths, building in-demand tech skills, and securing their first roles in industry. Her approach is hands-on and result-driven. Okay, so you'd love to, hear from her once we are done with our practical today. All right. So her expertise spans across freelance data analysis, blockchain, crypto education, technical support, and tech career coaching. A combination that gives her a uniquely well-rounded perspective on what it truly takes to break into and thrive in the tech space. With a deep commitment to career transformation, Priscilla has successfully mentored and onboarded over 500 individuals, equipping them with the skills, confidence, and direction needed to transition seamlessly into tech and land meaningful opportunity. She is not just a professional in her field, she is a bridge between potential and possibility. So trust me, you would need to, keep or stay on this call to actually hear, what she has in store for you. All right. Now, on that note, we are going to dive into what we have for today. All right. But before we do that, I would like to make sure that everyone on this call is actually tuned and ready to digest the information I have for you today. All right. So if you are ready, just go into the chat and type in yeah. All right. If you are ready to dive into hands-on practical with Power BI right here, right now, okay, just go into that chat session and type in yeah. All right. I need at least 5 of that before I go ahead. So I can see Mapida has done that already, but the rest of us, where are we, please? Okay, where are we? If you are here, just go there, type in yeah. All right, and let's move on. Okay. Awesome. So I'm seeing more of that coming in already. Awesome. Okay, so now, not to take too much of our time, let's dive in. All right. So now, this session is tailored towards helping us understand how to apply predictive analysis in the areas of recruitment to be able to identify when our employees are going to be leaving, and also to apply the financial aspect of understanding the cost that we might incur in terms of the pension, okay, that's the employees leaving, and the impact is going to have on the business financially. All right. So now, by the end of this session, all right, one of the first things we're going to be able to have is you'll have an understanding of how to predict recruitment and identify pension gaps. using real world data. Okay. Other thing is you will be able to build an interactive dashboard to share your insights with key stakeholders. Okay. The next thing is exploring pathways to becoming an HR and a financial analyst. Okay. An HR and a financial analyst. And then you dive into Tenalytics career growth and internship program, what we have to offer you, all the career assistance that will be available to you throughout your journey in the HR analytics and the financial analytics program. And then we also have our special discount offer available to you as well. Now we also have what we are going to be solving today, all right, which is of course understanding how to apply predictive analytics into identifying recruitment gaps as well as retirement gaps as well as pension gaps. Okay, so now before we dive in, I would like us to all be on the same page, that is having at least a common understanding of where we are going to. Okay, of where we are going to. Now the first thing I want us to understand is that when it comes to analytics, right? Even in the area of HR or in the area of finance, a lot of companies do have data. I mean, we've heard about data over and over again. For most of us on this call, we are just curious to understand exactly what this data can do and how we can actually predict these data sets to give us answers or look into what might happen in the future. Now, a lot of organizations are also in this same situation, right? They have the data, they know what data is, they know what data can do, right? But they still struggle, all right, to make sense of their data. Now, they're not suffering because of lack of data. They're suffering because they cannot translate that data into something that they can use to make informed decision. All right, that's where an issue or the issue happens. That's where people find themselves falling short of information, falling short of workforce planning, spending money that they should have been able to foresee in the future and plan ahead, right? So these are some of the factors that we are about to break down today as well. Taking data and making sense of it so that we can make informed decisions that can save this organization a lot of money and also help them plan ahead before they lose quality employees as well. All right? Now, let's go ahead. The first concept I want us to understand is the recruitment gap. Okay? Now, this occurs when the number of employees predicted to be available in the future is less than what the business requires. Okay? Now, based on what is on our screen, it has given us a fine definition of what a recruitment gap is. But I'm just going to give us a quick example, right? Let's say a company has 50 engineers, right? They have 50 engineers on ground presently. Now, this is the amount of engineers they need to ensure an efficient operation, day-to-day activities, smooth running of the business. They need 50 engineers to do this. Now, in the next 3 years, based on the current trend in their workforce, the business is expanding. They know that they would need to maybe extend to more branches or at least need to increase the production of work that they have currently by the next 3 years, right? Now, if they continue in that particular pattern, they should be able to achieve it. Now, HR predicts that due to this particular trend or what they have experienced so far, they will need at least 30 more people to join the engineering team to make it more efficient, okay? They will need at least 30 more people to make it more efficient. But guess what? If we look at the amount we have, all right? If we look at the number of individuals we have presently, okay, we just have 50, okay? We just have 50. So now, if you subtract, what's it called? 30 from that 50, all right? we still need about, let's say, we need 20 more people to achieve that efficiency. Okay, so they said we need 50 people. We have 30 on ground. Okay, I think I mixed up that. We have 30 on ground right now. All right, in the future, in that 3 years' time, we would need at least 20 more engineers to join that team to fill out or meet up with the efficiency that we require. Okay, now this means that the organization is able to plan ahead, identify the issue that the company is having on time, all right, and then do something about it, all right. So if they are not able to identify the recruitment gaps that they have within their company, then nothing is going to happen. When the time comes for them to actually meet up with that, then they start spending more money. They start finding out, oh, what is wrong here? Why are our engineers quitting? What do we need to do here, right? So the recruitment gap identification has to happen on time for us to actually get what we need from the HR team's operation. Now, the next thing we have here is the pension gap, okay? The pension gap. And the pension gap refers to the financial impact of employees exiting the organization, especially through retirement, right? So when we have pension gaps, it means that we have a lot of employees who have gotten to a particular point in time where they can no longer work, right? Retirement age, or even a large number of employees just leaving the organization. Now, in this situation, let's say the finance team has to plan or at least prepare the organization for the amount of money that they would be spending when this happens. Now, you don't want to wake up one morning and realize that the company has to spend at least $1 million just to settle retirement, debt, okay, just to settle their employees' retirement. Yes, they do plan for this, but at least they should be able to know the amount of money that is going out and when it would be going out, right? So planning for these kinds of things helps us to manage the inflow and outflow of money within the business efficiently. So this is why we're looking at both things together, the recruitment gap, the pension gap. We merge it together. We identify when these employees are going to leave, how long before this impact hits the business, and then we also look at the pension gap, that's the cost, the amount of money we would be spending when this particular thing eventually happens, all right, when the employees eventually retire, okay? So now, why does this even matter? In recruitment, if recruitment and gaps are not identified early, okay, operations may slow down. That is, when staffs are leaving and leaving unplanned, or we are unprepared to actually, find out what is going on in the business, of course, a lot of processes are going to slow down because there are not enough staff to actually carry out that particular task. Hiring becomes urgent and more expensive because now Mr. A has left. You need to fill out that role because Mr. A was holding a very important position in the company, right? There's nobody undershadowing. There was no succession planning. He left, his retirement age got to a particular time, and nobody cared to pay attention to those processes. Now you have to hire urgently, and of course, it's going to become more expensive because you're looking for a particular kind of individual to replicate what Mr. A has been giving to the organization. Financial planning becomes reactive instead of proactive, right? Since you weren't able to identify the pension gaps that might occur in the next 5 years or 2 years' time, right? You did not prepare for it. The business did not prepare for it. So what happens? When that time comes, we begin to make unplanned expenses in the business. Now, if we're able to identify all of these things on time, it becomes much more easier and smoother for the organization to achieve what they want to achieve, all right? It becomes much more easier for them to run a smooth operation, much more easier for them to have supply for the funds that they need to settle retirement situations. easily without having to go bankrupt or having to make unplanned moves and other things also suffering because of it. All right. So basically, everything that has to do with predicting recruitment gap and also pension gaps has to do with proper workforce planning. All right. Proper workforce planning. Now, I don't want to take too much of our time. I think we're just going to go ahead, but just make sure that you mark the attendance that we have here from Oluwaseyi, right? Oluwaseyi has been dropping attendance. Dorcas as well has been dropping attendance in the chat. Mark the attendance, and you should be able to get everything that we are going to do today, from this material down to the data set, every single thing. Okay, so yes. Now let's go ahead and dive into our project for today. All right, so let's get our hands ready for our hands-on project. Now, what we are going to be doing today is looking at a case study about Orion Petroleum Limited. Now, this is a leading integrated petroleum company operating across refining, processing and distribution of petroleum products in West Africa. With over 2 decades of operational excellence, the company has built a strong reputation for efficiency, safety, and large-scale industrial performance. Its operations rely heavily on a diverse workforce that includes process engineers and plant technicians, operations and maintenance teams, finance and administrative performance. And over the years, Orion Petroleum has invested significantly in human capital, resulting in a workforce with deep technical expertise and long organizational tenure. All right. Now, the problem. As part of its strategic growth agenda, Orion Petroleum is planning to expand refining capacities, increase production output, and improve operational efficiencies. However, during a recent internal workforce review, a critical pattern emerged. A significant number of experienced employees, particularly in engineering and operations, are approaching retirement age within the next few years. At the same time, expansion plans will require additional skilled personnel, replacing increased pressure on workforce planning. So basically, what this is trying to say is that the business is finding out that some of their main workforce are going to be hitting retirement age, which means that there's going to be a drastic shift in the number of staffs that they have in a few years' time. They want to be able to prepare for that. They want to have individuals that will take on that before the time comes for them to retire, right? So preparation is what is at heart right now, but they don't know what the actual number is, what departments are most affected. Yes, they know engineering and operation, but then what other departments are affected in this particular scenario, right? And how do they plan for it before that situation hits, right? So we're going to be answering a couple of questions, okay? A couple of questions to help make our presentation much more clearer to senior management. Now, we've broken down some questions here that we would be answering for the business. That is understanding how many employees are expected to retire in the next 3 to 5 years, which departments will be more affected, will the company have enough staffs to meet future operational needs, how many new people needs to be hired, and what will be the financial impact of this retirement. Okay, what will be the financial impact of these retirements? Now, we are going to basically dive in here, but before we do, I want to get this data set across. Basically, what we are going to be doing today is just taking our raw data. Of course, the company is just going to make available for us a data set for us to work with, their employee data, all right? And then we take that data and transform it into something much more meaningful that impacts the business. So we transform our raw data from rows and columns into an interactive dashboard that actually speaks insights to our stakeholders. So instead of us just saying, oh, a lot of engineers are going to be leaving the engineering department, or operational team members are going to be leaving, we know the exact amount, the exact year, all right, and then we also know how long before this impact hits, and for each of these years, how much money are we going to be spending, all right? So that's exactly what we are going to be doing. Now, like I said, we're going to be taking our data set, I'll share the link shortly, and transforming it into this simple but very, very impactful dashboard, all right, where we, like I said, predict the retirement gaps over the years, and also look at where we have employees who are leaving, how long it will take us before those employees actually leave the company. Okay, so let's get that data set across very quickly. All right, and then we dive into our Power BI. Now we're going to be using this tool called Power BI, all right, to go to create this particular solution. For those of us that haven't heard of Power BI yet, you can also make sure to register the attendance form so you can have access to a step-by-step process that allows you to learn Power BI. All right, that allows you to learn Power BI, or allows you to download it and also work with it on your PC. Okay, so I'll drop the data set for us here. All right, so the data set is now available in the chat. So if you want to, you can just go ahead, click on it, and get started. Now I'm also going to drop the link for the Power BI as well. Okay, this is just a walkthrough video of how to get that Power BI on your PC. Okay, how to get. I'm going to copy that link and share it with us. So for those of us that have Power BI already, good news, you can work alongside me, okay? But for those of us that don't have that yet, you have to get Power BI on your PC, and then once the recording comes out, you would be able to come back here and do your step-by-step with me, okay? So let me drop that link again for Power BI. Okay. All right. Okay, everyone. So we are about to get into the next step, which is us actually interacting with Power BI. Okay. Now, for most of us that have heard of, this data analytics process, usually when we want to get started with analyzing data, what we do is look at the step-by-step process, which is the ET ETL process, or rather in this situation, we are doing the ELT process, right? Now, what does the ELT process stand for? We are basically extracting data, that is taking data from our Excel, okay? Just like we saw not too long ago, okay? Taking data from our Excel. All right. Now, this data that we were able to import from our Excel, all right, we are going to be bringing it directly into Power BI, transform it. Once we transform it, we load it, and then we analyze it and make sense of it, all right? So what we have here is just plain data, people's names, their date of birth, department, job roles, their grade level, the location of this business or where they work, the office, the dates they were hired, length of service, how much money they make, and then their employment type, of course. Now, these are all interesting information, but none of them tells us exactly how long these people are going to stay before they leave the company, all right? None of it also tells us how much money we are going to be spending in pension. But just with step by step, we're going to find out ways to extract that data, even from this data that we can see right here. Okay, so now this is what we are going to do. For those of us already following, the first thing I want us to do is just click on File. All right, now from this file, I want you to go ahead and click Download. Under Download, I want you to click on Microsoft Excel to download this specific data. All right, Microsoft Excel to download this specific data. Now, once you've downloaded it, you can now go back into your Power BI software. All right, go back into your Power BI software. Now, inside of Power BI, the first thing I'm going to do here is just to open up a blank report view. This is to allow me to, have access to a fresh page to create my own analysis for Orion Petroleum Limited. Okay, so let's just give it some time. Okay, and all right, so we're good to go. Now we're going to go ahead and bring in the data set we just downloaded. Okay, we are going to bring in the data set we just downloaded. So I'll go to Get Data, go to my Excel workbook. Okay, click on my Excel workbook. Now this gives me access to my file explorer. I go ahead and pick up the data I just downloaded, which is the Orion Petroleum Limited data set. Okay, the Orion Petroleum Limited data set. I want the particular one I just downloaded right now. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click Open. Now this allows me to extract that data into the Power BI interface, and then I take the next step, which is the data cleaning phase. Now in this particular phase, I'm just trying to make sure my data is ready. Do I have the meaningful information I require to actually answer these businesses' questions? All right. Do I have the meaningful information I require to answer these businesses' question or not, right? So the first step we're going to do is to take these data sets into a tool called Power Query. Now, Power Query is like that tool that helps you to take, for example, you are in a, what's it called? You want to make a meal, right? You go to the market, you get the ingredients, right? Now, before you start to cook, which is of course the visualization we are going to build, you have to prepare your ingredients. You have to clean up some, meat, dice some vegetables, and so on and so forth, right? Now, this is the exact process that we're about to take, which is basically making sure that our data is very, very ready for us to analyze. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Transform Data. It takes me directly into my Power Query editor. All right, so you're just going to see that interface is a little bit different from the main Power BI itself, but it still works perfectly fine for the purpose that it serves. Now, once our data comes up, the first thing we want to do is check the health of our data. Is our data clean enough? Is it good enough for us to actually analyze? All right. Now, the first thing I can identify here from my column quality, all right, blank cells are not necessary or important in data except, in certain situations. All right, I'm not going to get into those nitty-gritties right now, but then in this particular situation, 88% empty data across all cells consistently means that we might have a problem of blank cells, unwanted cells, basically across our data. All right, so if I keep scrolling, you see that we still have the same 88% of empty data identified across all columns. Okay, so this is exactly what we have. Now that we've established and identified that we have the same kind of data or empty data patterns, we can just take a simple step here, which is just to click on some buttons and take out all of those blank cells. Okay, So here we go. The first thing I'm going to do is just head over to where I have remove roles. Okay, so I'll click on that, remove roles, and under that I can just access some information here. Okay, so here we have an option to remove all blank rows. So I'll click on that and let's wait. Okay, and 100% or 0%. Now we only have valid data, no blanks. Okay, we only have valid data. I'm going to do that again, but this time around, I'll show us the number of rows that we actually have. Right now we have 120 rows, okay, with clean data. But if I remove this, okay, and keep it back here, we have 999 rows or even more. Now to see the blank cells with our eyes, right, I have to scroll down so we can see all the null values over here. All right, now I'll go back and do that again, remove blanks, okay, and let's see what we have. So it comes back to this, we have 120, and this time around if I scroll down, I believe my rows should stop at 120. Okay, so all the blanks are completely gone. Now for us to actually transform our data, because this is us just cleaning up the debt from the things that we bought from the market, right, removing unnecessary things that we don't actually want. The first one is the blank. Now we need to put this data in the state that it's actually most important for us to make use of. All right. So if you have a carrot, you're not going to put the whole carrot like that without dicing it, right? So that's exactly what we want to do now. We want to transform this data in a way that is most suitable for us to make sense of before anything else. So the next step I'm going to take now is to go back to my question and understand exactly what is required from us again. Now, some of the questions says, how many employees are expected to retire in the next 3 to 5 years? Remember, we don't have any information about employee retirement in our data set. So we need to solve this problem first things first. Now, to do that, what I'm going to do here is to identify one key factor, all right? The first thing I'm going to do is for us to understand something. Every organization has a particular age where they expect their employees to retire. Okay, every organization has a particular age. So for this organization, we're going to give it the age of 60. Okay, 60 is going to be their retirement age. Now, for us to be able to identify that, we have an advantage here, which is the date of birth. The date of birth of these individuals allows us to understand how old they currently are. Okay, and then we use the 60 years benchmark for retirement to identify when these people are going to get to their retirement age. So the first step we're taking now is to identify how old each employee is. To do that, all I have to do is just select my date of birth column. I go to my add column tab, go to date, and then the next thing I want to do is just click on age, and like that, I should get my age. Now, what we have here is just the duration. This basically calculates every, seconds from that particular year down to this moment that we are talking right now. So to take this from, to the right state or an understandable state, I'm just going to go into transform, go into duration, and I just want to see the total years. So I click on that and it gives me what? The total years. Now I'm beginning to see something more sensible. Somebody born in, let's see, date of birth. So we have 1990. Okay, this person is already 35 years old. So we can see a common information there that actually shows us that, okay, this person is 35 and so on and so forth. So we have decimals which could, add to the number of months, but I've never seen somebody celebrating 1 year, 6 months, or 35 years, 3 months, right? So it's always the whole year. So we're going to get rid of the rest of the decimal, okay? What I'm going to do here is, let's just try and change the data type from decimal down to whole number. All right, so that is that. Okay, so I have a little bit of error here. I don't want it to round up or add to the person's age. All I need here is round down. Okay, so we keep everybody's age intact. Now, the next thing we want to do here is to calculate the retirement age gap. Okay, to calculate the retirement age gap. But before I do that, let me just name this properly, not just age, but employee age. Okay, employee age. Now, I want to go ahead and do what? Calculate the retirement age gap, or rather, how many years is left for this particular employee to get to retirement. You can see some people are already 52 years, 53 years. Before you know, they turn 60 and they are gone. But we want to be able to flag that or catch that on time, at least 5 years earlier, 2 years earlier, before it happens, right? So this is what we are going to do. Again, I'm going to just go ahead and carry out a quick calculation here. All right, I'm going to use a custom column this time around. And what I'm going to do here is, I'm just going to change the name of this. Okay. Year to retirement. Okay, how many years is left to retirement? Okay, year to retirement. Now, this year to retirement, like I said, just helps us to find out the number of years that is left for this employee to leave the organization. So for this, I'm just going to go with a simple 60 minus the employee age. So I just scroll down and select this, insert. Okay, so 60 minus the employee age. Remember, 60 is the number for, or the age for retirement for this organization. All right, so I'll go ahead and click OK. This should help me calculate across each employee how many years is left before they leave. Okay, so right here we can see that some will have 25 years, and some you see 5 years remaining, 7 years, 6 years, 4 years, right? 3 years, right? Some people are very, very close like that. So we actually needed this to be able to identify, how long it will take these employees before they leave. Now, the next thing I want to do here quickly is just to change my data type to whole number. And then we take the last step in our data transformation before we go into our dashboard building. Okay, now the last thing we're going to do here is identifying the recruitment year. Now, it's one thing for us to know how many years is left before this person leaves the company, right? It's another thing for us to know which particular year it's going to happen. All right, so it's 5 years, all right, but is it 2029 or 2030? What exact year, right? So this is just an added bonus for us to be able to create that prediction chart to help us look into the future and see how many people are living at this particular or in this particular year, all right? So now let's go ahead and create that. So I'll use the custom column again. Okay. All right, so this time around, I'm going to call this the recruit or retirement year. Okay, now for this, I'll just use a simple formula here, date dot year. Okay. All right, now from date dot year, we want to look at the date time local. Date time dot. Okay. All right, so date time dot local now. 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 All right, so d So anytime I hit enter, it just duplicates. So I don't want that. Now, this particular formula is just, identifying today's dates, right? This particular time period that we are in, right? Now, it extracts today's date and then we use that to subtract or rather add the number of years, okay, that this employee has left, okay? So if they have 3 years left, today's year plus 3 years, all right? So it gives us the future year that that person is actually going to leave, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the year to retirement, click on that, and then go ahead and click OK. Okay, so you can see that we actually got, 2020 this, 2020 that, but we didn't put any 2026 plus 5 years plus 25 years, but it was able to extract how long before these individuals actually leave the particular year itself, right? So if you check 2026 plus, 7, you actually get this particular 2033. Now we're going to go ahead and change this into a correct data type because ABC and 123 does not fall under any kind of data type, right? So I'll just change this to whole number basically, and then let's get into Power BI and start constructing some necessary information. Now in Power BI, I'm going to introduce us to something called DAX. DAX is what we call data analytics expression. Now, as much as we want to clean our data and so on and so forth, right? To make sure our data is in the right size, the right feel and everything before we actually bring it into or put it in the kitchen pot that we're trying to prepare, right? There's also the part of, adding extra ingredients to the food, right? So if you are prepared your ingredients, you're putting it in the pot, you taste it, you want to make sure that it is, the right balance of salt, the right balance of seasoning, everything has to be proper, right? The same thing applies to your data. After we have cleaned it, prepared it, and made sure all the ingredients are available, we now want to make sure that it is quite balanced so that when you put the first spoon in your mouth, all right, you can actually taste everything, the balanced ingredient. That is the same thing that DAX does for every dashboard. It gives added insights, okay, better information, easier information or easy summary to what we have prepared inside of Power Query. So the first thing we're going to do here to get our DAX started is going to be to I want to create a separate table to store all of our DAX measures. All right, this will help us have a clear view of where we have all of these measures situated. All right, now, once I do that, we have a separate table. We're going to go ahead and start. The first thing I want to know is how many employees are we actually working with right now, okay, before we start diving into more things. How many employees are we working with? So I'll find out that particular amount, click on new measures to create these measures. Don't worry, I'm going to make the measure tab a bit bold so that we see even what I am typing, right? So the first one is total employees. This gives us the sum total of the amount of employees that we have in the company. Total employees. All right. Now I'm going to use the distinct count, which means I want to count every employee in my data set, but I want to count everybody just once, just in case somebody's information appears more than once, okay? I just want to count that person just once, okay? So distinct count of the employee ID, okay? Each employee has their own unique ID. Somebody can have the same name and surname with another person, but their staff ID can never be the same, right? So that's exactly why I want to make use of this employee ID here. So we'll go ahead and hit enter, and then we should get our result, okay? Now, I'm going to keep that because we have other things that we want to calculate. Now, once we're done calculating that, we start bringing them in. We're still going to see everything, don't worry, okay? Now, the next thing I want to look at is retiring in 5 years. Now, retiring in 5 years basically allows us to see the number of people that are going to be retiring in the next 5 years. Okay, we want to be able to capture that information. How many people are going to be leaving us in the next 5 years? Okay, we're going to go ahead and click on new, create a new measure. All right, so we can identify the number of individuals that would be living in the next 5 years. So I'll call this, like I said, retiring in the next 5 years. Okay. In 5 years. Okay, retiring in 5 years. So for this, to be able to calculate this particular one, I just have to make use of what we call the retirement or year to retirement. How many years is left before these people actually leave, right? Year to retirement. Now, the year to retirement helps us to understand, how many years is left before these people leave. But this particular formula is going to help us filter out those people that have 5 years or less. Okay, that's from 0 to 5 years. These are the people that are going to leave anytime soon. All right, so we usually have 5 year plans in companies, right? So if we plan 5 years ahead, it means that we've secured our future for 5 good years. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. We are going to go ahead and bring in this formula. What we want to create now is a filter, a calculated filter. All right. See, I'm sure every one of us here have heard of beans before, right? So wherever you are joining from, I'm sure you've heard of beans. And before start putting your beans on the fire, you always pick it at least. No matter how clean it is, you want to make sure that there's no residue or anything inside of it, right? So you want to pick the beans that is good, right? The same thing applies for filtering. You want to find out a particular aspect of this particular information. So I'll go ahead, I'll bring in a function here that allows me to apply an expression, okay, and then a filter. So the expression is going to hold the total number of employees that I have, and then I'll say out of this total number of employees, I just want you to count this particular amount of employees, all right? And that is those that are those that are in the retirement stage. So I'll go with the employee data. Okay, I have the employee data, but we want to identify those that have, less than 5 years to 0 years, basically. So year to retirement holds that particular information. So I'm going to go ahead and take that. Okay, year to retirement. Now I'm going to tell or apply this condition to the filter. Only count individuals whose retirement years are greater than, or rather less than or equal to 5. Okay, less than 5 or equal to 5. That is, less than 5 is basically 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, right? Or equal to 5. So less than 5 and also 5. So once we have that written out, go ahead and hit enter. This particular number is only going to give us the total number of individuals that are less than, or rather in that particular time period of 0 to 5 that will soon be leaving the organization. So now we can tell the stakeholders in 5 years' time, we're going to lose this amount of employees to retirement. All right, so it helps us to identify that spot on. Now, the next thing we want to look at is I believe this one is maybe not too necessary, but based on the question that the stakeholders want, they want to be able to understand how many employees are expected to retire in the next 3 to 5 years. So we want to provide that information for them as well. Okay, so we've been able to bring out the retirement years for each employee, but they asked for this specific 3 to 5 years, right? So we'll go back in there, all right, and then we bring in the information for 3 to 5 years, although it's almost the same thing. So I'm just going to copy this, okay, and then add the clause for 3 years as well. Okay, so I'll go here, new measure, I'll only be changing the name of my measure to retiring. Okay, 3 to 5 years. Okay, so we put in that. Have to take this out. Okay, now like I mentioned, we have to have an added filter here. So if we say 3 to 5 years, it means we're looking at people that are less than 3 and also less than 5 or equal to 5. All right, so here I'm just going to copy this. All right, add it in front of it. Just add an extra filter. We can put as many filters or, conditions as we want. So here we just have less than 3, or rather greater than 3, since we are looking at 3 to 5 years. So every number that is above 3, okay, and also above 3 or equal to 3, all right, and also less than 5 or equal to 5. All right, so we get this particular number. All right, so let me just go ahead and bring that in. So we calculated 3 things so far, and I want us to see the difference in the numbers we are calculating before we keep moving on. We still have some quick ones to look into. So right here, let me just bring this in. We calculated the total number of employees. We also looked at the retiring in 5 years. How many employees are leaving us in 5 years' time? And then we have those in 3 to 5 years. Okay, so we have the numbers. You can see that there's at least a difference in what we are seeing across board regarding the filters that we've applied. Now, the next thing I want to look at is pension costs. Okay, pension cost. Now, the pension cost is usually extracted from the total annual salary. And for this particular company, we are going to say 30%. For every company, of course, they have a particular percentage. Some might be just 5%, some might be 3%, whatever the percentage may be, right? So for this one, based on the annual salary, not monthly this time around, we are going to be taking out at least 30%. Now, for this, we're going to use a different kind of approach, right? We would be taking on the table, all right, the table method, which is extracting the specific table we want to use, identifying the kind of filtering we want to do, and then summing everything up to get the exact figure that we need to get, which is the actual pension cost. So here I'll give my, measure a name, pension costs. All right. And then, like I said, I want to sum everything up. So just like board maths, everything starts within the brackets before it goes outside the brackets. So I'll start with what is outside the bracket, which is our SumX function. Okay. And then, all right, so all of these formulas are very seamless and easy to use, of course, but just because for some of us we're seeing it for the first time, we might think, oh, this is complex. But once you understand it, easy peasy. All right, so now this is what I'm going to do. Like I mentioned, I want to filter out a particular kind of information that I need, which is understanding how much money we'll be spending on individuals that would be leaving the company. So the first thing I have here in the SumX function is to identify which table I want to make use of. We only have one table here, and that is the employee data table. All right, that's the one we downloaded basically. Now, the employee data table, this is the expression I want to apply. But before I do that, I think I need to also add my filter function here to apply that specific filter. All right, so under this, the next thing I want to do is to go back to my employee table and then bring in the years to retirement. That's how many years left before this employee leaves the organization. Years to retirement. Now, yes, if years to retirement is less than or equal to 5, you fall under the category of people we want to calculate their pension. Now, the next thing I want us to look at for here is now going to be, okay, close the filter. We are done with the filter. Is now going to be the sum, right? we extract the amount of money that we want to deduct from the actual salary. Of course, you are going to get the recording. Please make sure to fill out the attendance, all right? So I can see a question coming up if we are going to get the recording, all right? So now what we are going to do here is to look at the employee salary, right? The employee salary, okay? So the last part of this formula is us actually extracting the percentage of salary that is allotted to their pension. Like I said, we're using 0.3, which is basically 30% of their annual salary. Okay, so here I'll go ahead and get into that salary table or salary column. Okay, now inside the salary column, I'm going to just go ahead and multiply by 0.3. If I multiply 0.3 times 100, gives me what? 30%. So I'm basically taking out 30% of each of these individual salary. That's all 12 of them. Okay, want to find out how much money we're going to be spending. So I'll go ahead and hit enter here. Okay, and we should get a good information on the amount of money we're going to be spending. So we have 31.75 million naira, but I might just use a dollar sign just to move on for today. All right, so this is a West African company, a Nigerian company to be precise. Okay, so we're able to get the actual cost for just these 12 people. Remember, they are getting to a retirement age. So, of course, they've spent a lot of time in the company, and also their experience level and salary would reflect the amount of money they are paid annually. So, yes, 35 million is quite reasonable, even if the salary is not much. But for 12 individuals going into their retirement, it is the exact perfect amount. Now, the next thing we want to do is to find out the state of our future workforce. We've identified those that are retiring, all right? We've been able to identify how much money we'll be spending when it happens. Now, we want to take the next step, which is to identify the necessity of filling out these roles. How many roles are going to be vacant after this shift happens? How do we prepare for them? Okay, that's exactly the next thing that we want to do. So the first thing I'm going to do here is to look at the future of the workforce. How many people are going to be left based on what we have right now, the future of the workforce? How many people are going to be left, right? So here I'm just going to calculate future workforce. That is basically subtracting the amount of people we have right now from the amount of people that are going to leave in the next 5 years. Okay, now this allows us to see a clear vision of what our workforce will look like in the next 5 years. All right, if everybody stays, of course. All right, so here we go. So I have future workforce. Okay. Now for future workforce, I basically want to just subtract the total number of employees from the total number of, we have the retiring in 5 years, all right? So we have 12 people retiring in 5 years, and then we have 120 employees currently employed. But then we want to see the future state of this workforce. So we have this calculation coming in as well. Total employees minus retiring in 5 years. So this should give us, let's see. Yeah, so at the end of the day, we'll have 180 employees left. 180 employees left. Now, let's say, for example, just like the example I gave earlier, in the future, we want to have 150 employees in total, right? That means we would need at least more employees to fill out this current gap. So I'm just going to do a quick one, all right, just to bypass the whole process, because in this scenario, we actually need a proper report from HR as to how many people they project to have for a high efficiency level in different departments. Okay, so if we have let's say the HR department, or rather the engineering department, right? we need at least 60 more people or at least 60 people in the engineering department to be very efficient, right? Now, if three of them are leaving, okay, in the next 5 years, that means we need to make sure that we hit the deficit that is left. How much recruitment are we going to be doing in the next 5 years? If three people leave and the efficiency level of the engineering department needs to be at least 60 people, right? So let's identify that. First of all, I'm just going to give a placeholder number here to help us get through to identify how many people we actually need. That is our recruitment gap. We've looked at retirement gap, we've looked at the pension cost, which is also the gap incurred in terms of pension. Now let's look at recruitment gap to fill out the workforce intentionally within that 5-year period. All right, so here I'm just going to give it required, okay, workforce. This is what we expect to have in the next 3 to 5 years. Okay, so we want to have 150. That's just it, right? Like I said, a placeholder. Usually we should have a dedicated sheet that has each department's required workforce in the next 3 to 5 years, right? Now we're going to have that here. And then we calculate the recruitment gap that we expect to have, okay? The recruitment gap that we expect to have. Okay, now for recruitment gap, quite straightforward. We're just looking at what is the required workforce minus the future workforce, whatever is left. Okay, this is what we'll have after these people leave, future workforce. This is what we are expected to have in 5 years' time, required workforce. Now, if we subtract it, it tells us the amount of employees we should be recruiting into different departments to fill out the entire, you know, efficiency gap that might exist in the future. All right. So as we are also preparing for these people to leave, we're also preparing to grow the company and also close the gaps that they would leave behind. So I'll just go in here with future workforce, required workforce minus future workforce. Okay. So this is us making sure that we plan ahead in every aspect. Let me just quickly visualize that properly for everyone to see. And then we'll start building some of our charts, okay? So our charts are not too much. It's just to help us elaborate exactly what we can already see on the screen here, right? To help us understand the trends or predictive trends of when employees are going to retire, all right, to help us see the departments that are going to cost us more money when it comes to pension, to help us identify the employees that are going to leave, okay, on time by their names and all other information. All right, so I'll just go put this up here. I mean, we can already see all the numbers, the differences. So in 5 years' time, we're expecting that our workforce total is going to change from 120, and at least we should have added 30 more people, right, into our workforce. Now, if you see the recruitment gap between the future workforce, after these people have left, we have 42. So we need to fill out 42 people into the organization for everything to be as smooth as possible. But very quickly, I want us to identify the future forecast of how these individuals are actually going to live. Now we have the real KPIs. Let's look at the trends and the patterns that will help us prioritize different seasons perfectly. Okay, so now go ahead with our line charts. Can just bring this over here. I just want to minimize it a bit, okay, so it doesn't take up all the space. Don't worry, we're not going to do any designing today. I'm just going to show us the finished work once we are done with this, okay? So what we want to look at here is the number of employees that are going to be living in the future by the years they would be living. Remember, we calculated, how many years left. Are they going to be living in 2026 or they are going to be living in 45, right? When exactly are they going to be leaving, and how many of them are going to be retiring in this period, right? So the first thing I want to do is to bring in that retirement year. Okay, retirement year. So the retirement year should be under our employee data. Yes, retirement year. So I'll just bring that, put that in my x-axis. And then the next thing I want is the total employees, or total number of people that are going to be retiring, basically. So let's bring that in. Total number of individuals retiring. Okay, so we can see the number here. Okay, so we have 4, we have 1, and then we have 5. Okay, retiring year by retirement years. Okay, so all the retirement years we identified, you can see how many people are going to be leaving and when, just by the pattern. And as the years progress, of course, it keeps going up and up. So we know when to prepare for and when we are going to be spending more money in terms of settling pension debts. Okay, so now the next thing I want us to look at is that pension debt actually. Okay, so we're going to go in here and get pension information by department. All right, pension information by department. So I want to see the department that is going to cost us more money. All right, which department are we going to spend more money on when this retirement season starts? All right, so here I'm going to just go ahead and use this column chart. We'll be bringing in the pension costs, okay? And then I also need my department information, okay? I need my department information. So if I put this on focus, I want us to answer this question. Which particular department, based on this data, is going to cost us the most? Okay, which particular department, based on this data, is going to cost us the most during pension? Can anyone tell me, based on what you can see here? Engineering, fantastic. So I can see Adebola. Can you help us with all the calculated measure formula? Of course. So make sure to fill out the attendance form. All the information will be sent to you directly. Okay, all information will be sent to you directly. Okay, so now B also says engineering. I'm afraid we don't have a counter information here, but yes, that is perfectly right. Engineering department is going to be the one to take the crown for the most costly pension. That is, we're going to be spending 7 million to settle these employees, basically 7 million naira to settle these employees, and then we move on from there to down to operations, which cost 5 million basically. Now, the next thing we want to also be able to speak on when we go to our stakeholder is to look out for the specific employee. Is one thing for us to know, oh, we have 12 of them that are going to leave. Is another thing for us to know the specific one that is going to leave and when they are going to leave. All right. So quickly, I'm just going to bring in a table here that would reflect everything that we need to see. Okay, so I just want to move this up a bit. Okay, now I'm going to bring in a table here, a matrix table rather. All right, now this matrix table is going to hold the names of these employees, of course, and then the department, their age, and also how many years to their retirement. 5 years, 2 years, 0 years. We want to know as soon as possible. So I'm going to bring in the name of the employee. We have first name and last name. So one quick step, we're going to take a quick step back, all right? I want to make sure that the first name and last name are together. So we don't have a separate identity for first name, separate identity for last name, okay? So I'll go back to my, preparation deck and fix 1 or 2 things. Let's say we forgot to, dice the meat that we want to use to make our fried rice or something like that, right? So we're going back to dice it, then continue, all right? So I'll go back to my Power Query, and then what I just want to do is simple. I want to merge 2 columns and make them 1, right? So let's just wait for the data to come up. All right, now we select the first name, we select the last name, and then we do what? Right click. Once we right click, we get, merge these particular columns together. So I'll click on the merge columns. And then the next thing I want to do here is to identify my separator, which is space. I want, the space to be the separator between the two cells I'm joining together. And I want the column name to be employee employee name. I like to put an underscore there, employee name. All right. So it merges just like that. So this column now is 1. So we have employee name, we have Adiola Ojo, Emeka Ogun, Hawa Weze, and so on and so forth. Now go ahead and load my data back. This time around, we don't have first name and last name. We have all the names together. So just give it a minute or less to load, and then we get on with it. Now, let's bring in our employee name as planned, okay? And then we can see all the names of our employees rolling in, all 120 of them. The next thing we want to see here is the department they belong to, okay? I'm going to move department to, let's put it under value, okay? And then the next thing I want to see as well is our employee age, the one we calculated from their date of birth. So I'll drag that here as well under the employee. So we have each employee, their ages showing there. And then the last one is going to be year to retirement, how long before they retire. So we have year to retirement here as well. Place that. Now I'm just going to go in and change the names, year to retirement. I don't want sum of year to retirement, just year to retirement. We don't want the sum. Take that out. I'll do that for department as well. Of course, it's going to be the first department and the only department, all right? So now, another system I want to do here is to be able to easily flag those that are already in that 5-year period, and then also those individuals that are about to enter that 5-year period. And this is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go to Format, all right? Under Format, quickly, I'll go to Cell Element. Under Cell Element, I'll select the column I want to format, which is year to retirement. I want to be able to flag individuals that are already in that 5-year period and individuals that are about to enter that 5-year period. Okay, so here I want to use the background color. So I'll toggle that on, go into the background color formatting area. Now I want to use rules instead of gradient. All right, and right here I have the first rule, okay? If the value is less than 1, or rather less than or equal to 0, okay, that's the number is less than or equal to 0, then we have, okay, and then less than or equal to 5 as well, then you should flag it as red. This person is in the danger zone already, about to leave. Okay, so we need to start planning. Then there's the next set of individuals, okay? If it's less than 5, okay, that is, or rather, if it is greater than 5, I keep saying less than. If it is greater than 5 and also less than 10, less than or equal to 10, which is basically from, if it's greater than 5, that is 6 to 10, basically. All right, we wanted to highlight it in yellow. All right, so that is that. Those are the 2 rules that we need to apply. Go ahead and click OK. So what happens? It basically takes everybody's information, looks out for all the numbers that apply to that. If you see a red, it means that this person is living within the next few months to 5 years. If you see a yellow, it means that they are in the next phase. The next 10 years, we're expecting that these people start living as well. All right, so that is it, just to identify the high-risk individuals by their names, their departments, and then we also see the number of years left. You can see 2 years, Tunde, KK. So, that is a system for us to actually identify these individuals. Now, finally, I believe we can just, go into our finished chart already, just to see exactly how the final dashboard is, because I'm about to hand over to our other speaker to tell us exactly how we can achieve this on our own at the end of the day, how we can become individuals that have full grasp and understanding of all of these concepts in the areas of HR, in the areas of finance, as well to be able to understand budgeting, planning a business, seeing into the future, and also able to pick on different things that are happening in the business before it becomes a problem. All right. So very quickly, let me just bring this up. All right, so this is what the finished work of our dashboard should look like. All right, so let me just put that on a full mode here. And yeah, so right here is what our final dashboard is going to be. If we had time to, go through the whole process, we should have exactly the same thing. Right here, we looked at total, that's retirement by age by the total amount of employees. I think that's an oversight. So I'll just quickly fix that and put in the, retiring in 5 years into this place. All right, so we should have that here. Quickly change that so it aligns properly. Okay, so basically we can see all the trends that applies to each particular individual in this process. All right, the trend that applies. We know exactly when we're going to have a high season of retirement. We know when we are going to just have one person in a year, which is a light work, right? But we still want to be able to prepare for each and every one of those periods without having to spend too much, without having to, waste money or anything like that, right? So we just want to be in the clear, basically, preparing ahead of time before any situation occurs. We also have our identity area for each employee, telling us exactly how much year they have left. Okay, those that are in the danger zone. For school, we already see I sharp one, and so on and so forth available in the data set. We see the amount of money that we are spending or we are going to spend, and it just keeps going. The list keeps going on and on and on and on. All right. So that is that for our analysis today. I'm going to now hand over to Priscilla. Priscilla is going to tell us exactly how we can also turn ourselves from just individuals who come into sessions like this to individuals who can fully and confidently execute things like this without having any issue at all. All right. So, hi, Priscilla, over to you.
Yeah, hi Mary. Confirm you can hear me.
Absolutely, I can hear you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for that amazing session. So, guys, if we've had a good time so far, all right, please leave a yes in the chat. If you've been following through and you've had a good time all the while, please leave a yes. I've enjoyed the past 1 hour, 25 minutes. And if you have, right, please leave a yes in the chat. So keep the yes coming. This other half of the session is just going to take 10, 15 minutes and then we're going to get done. So Adebola, I see you. Sam, I see you. Fantastic. I've also enjoyed myself. So we're in this, session because of HR analytics and financial analytics. All right. So if you're here for financial analytics, right? If financial analytics is the path you're interested in, please leave a FA in the chat. FA for financial analytics. Okay. If it's HR analytics you're interested in, please leave a HR in the chat, just the same way I've done, right? If you're here for financial analytics, right, you like to work in finance, you like to project or predict the future performance of organizations, leave FA in the chat. All right. If you're here for HR analytics, do leave a HR in the chat. So just keep your responses coming in. We're going to be here, for the next 10, 15 minutes. I'm not seeing any response. Please leave your response in the chat. Something brought us here. It has to either be financial analytics or HR analytics. So Hillary says HR. So no finance professional in the house, no person interested in financial analytics. That's unbelievable. All right, so Ike says FA. Okay, then. So we're just going to get started. All right. So I know that for some of us here, somebody like Sam, we're just joining a 10 analytics session for the first time, and we're sort of interested in either financial analytics or HR analytics. For some of us, we're complete beginners, but we just took a liking. We have interest in either of both paths. While for some of us, we possibly have background in accounting, background in human resource, and you want to upskill. So you want to leverage what you have already. I'll talk you through how you can go about that. So I see people interested in healthcare analytics as well. That's fantastic. So, we're also going to touch a bit on that as we go ahead. All right. But majorly, the session is geared towards financial analytics and HR analytics. So I'll literally tell you, for those of us that are interested in financial analytics, here at Analytics, going through our financial analytics program, you're able to go into data analytics, corporate finance, and investment banking. Because, as a financial analyst, you are a data analyst that is focused on financial data. Then, as an HR analyst, you are a data analyst as well, right? But then you've decided to focus on human resource data. So if you take a look at my screen, you're going to find the jobs you're able to get into after going for financial analytics or HR analytics. If being a financial analyst is something you're interested in, if being an investment analyst, a commercial analyst, a credit analyst, a treasury analyst, a FP and A analyst, financial planning and analysis analyst, pricing analyst, portfolio analyst, corporate financial analyst, if that rings a bell, if that sounds like a career path you're interested in, then you want to consider the financial analytics path, right? Now, if you're looking at HR analyst, people analyst, workforce planning analyst, talent analytics specialist, compensation analyst, benefit and reward analyst, talent analyst, and so much more. If that sounds like it's for you, then you want to consider the HR analytics pathway. All right. For those of us here interested in healthcare data analytics, if you're looking at roles such as health informatics, right? If you're looking at roles such as, medical reporting analyst, if you're looking at roles such as pathology data analyst, that's what you want to also consider. All right. So what's the best way? Now that for some of us here, we're able to figure out the best path for us. It could be financial analytics, it could be HR analytics, it could be healthcare data analytics, right? What is the best way to get into the path? It's really simple. The strategy that has been proven to work. The very first thing you get to do is learn. Okay, the very first thing you get to do is learn. Now, for some of us here, I trust that, say for those of us interested in financial analytics or HR analytics, it must have been a while ago since we did anything accounting, since we did anything human resource. And so you're just wondering, how do I pick up the things I've learned before? How do I remember them? Now, here at Analytics, we don't need you to remember all of those things because that's why we're here. We're going to be teaching you from the scratch. The courses are very, very beginner friendly. What you need right now is just an interest, right? And then a zeal to just upskill, a zeal to add tech to what you're doing. If you're already in accounting, if you're already in human resource, and you don't just want to be that conventional accountant, right? Rather, you want to be techie. You want to be able to analyze data. You want to be able to tell an investor that this is the company you should invest in, right? That is the path you want to look at, financial analytics, okay? And remember, we don't need you to have prerequisite knowledge. We're going to teach you from the very beginning, okay? So the very first thing you need to do is figure out that path and learn, all right? Now, once you're able to learn, remember, the goal is to get a job at the end of the day, or for those of us already working, the goal is to climb up the ladder. right? Now you'll be competing with a pool of applicants, with people that are also interested in that specific role. So you need to come across as the best person for the job. And this is where positioning comes in. This is how you're able to tell the employer that, yes, I know how to do this thing and I've done it before. At this point, you need internship. Internship, shows that you've worked in a real setting as a financial analyst, as a data analyst, as an HR analyst. So you're able to get internship. You're also able to ensure that your CV, which is the document that goes into the room before you do, is properly worked on. All right. Now, these days, when you want to apply to a role, there's something positioned already to screen through different CVs. That is called the applicant tracking system. So it's more like a security guard that will sieve through your CV looking for particular keywords. You want to apply for a financial analyst role, there are certain things you must have on your CV. If that security guard doesn't find those things in your CV, it throws the CV into the trash, and your CV doesn't even get a chance to get to the table of the employer or the recruiter. So that is why, in order to stay positioned, you have to ensure that your CV is properly optimized. Then your LinkedIn profile. These days, I'm pretty sure when you go on LinkedIn, you see, oh, this person viewed your profile. A lot of the times, when you apply to that job, the employer or the recruiter is going on LinkedIn to look you up. That is your digital footprint, and it needs to be properly optimized. It needs to carry the right keywords. All right. Then your portfolio. So it's more like you're telling the employer, I have done this thing before, and this is my evidence. Okay, these are the projects that I've worked on as a financial analyst or as an HR analyst. So you need a portfolio to stay positioned. Employers don't want to hear, I've done it before and that's all. Remember, you're competing with crowd. You need to stand out. So you also have to have that proof of work. Then you need mentorship. We know that with mentorship, a journey that is supposed to take you 2 years now takes you less than 6 months, because you're literally being mentored by somebody that have walked the talk, somebody that knows the rope. And then they're telling you, these are the things you should do and these are the things you should avoid. That is one way to also stay positioned. Then interview preparation. I know that we've got people that have left school a while ago, right? We also got people that are newbies on here. But the fact remains that you're delving into a new terrain. Financial analytics, HR analytics, healthcare data analytics. It's a new terrain for you, right? And at the point when you've tendered in your application, you need somebody to prepare you for that interview. Okay, so what we do here at Analytics is, when you have an interview coming up, all right, you do have an interview coming up, all you have to do is just book for a session. You don't want to run around looking for, oh, who will prepare me? Who do I get tips from? No, your job is just to book for a prep session and somebody will prepare you for that interview. Then, of course, remember your portfolio, which is like a evidence that you've done the work, you've tendered it into the employer. Now, you would need reference to back that experience up. You would need reference letter. This is one thing you are able to get here at Analytics, and that is what helps you stand out from the crowd. Okay, then of course, on the job support. Now, just think about this for a minute. Imagine yourself, somebody with a bit of accounting experience or background. You've worked as a credit analyst, a risk analyst, and you're trying to upskill, right? Or that person that has worked as a human resource manager, recruitment expert, and all of that, and you're trying to upskill. Imagine coming into a course that will take you from the very scratch, a course that would assume that you're a beginner, and that way you get taught from the beginning, and then you get taught how to use these tools to solve problems. Now, that way you're gaining skills, right? You're gaining the right skills. Imagine going from that to having your CV worked on. Now, on your CV, of course, you'll have experience, having internship, right? And then being prepped for an interview. You're just ready for the job market. That is how you stay positioned. And then, of course, you have to apply. All right. So that is also part of the strategy. You do all of this and then you're able to get a job. Learn, position, and apply. So right here on my screen, I have a couple of people that have been able to walk the talk, a couple of people that have been able to get jobs by applying that strategy. On here, you'd see Amaka. Now, Amaka is resident in Canada. And for herself, she was out of work for a while, right? She knew that she needed to do something. Just the same way for most of us on this call, we are burnt out. We're tired of the jobs we're currently doing, or we're out of work. We know that where I am right now, this is not where I'm supposed to be. I can do more. Right? I need to be more relevant. That was the same way Amaka thought. And then she got into our HR analytics program. And guess what? She currently has a job as an HR data analyst. Okay, using the same strategy, learn, position, and apply. All right. Then I have Emmanuel here on my screen. Now, Emmanuel is currently in the United States. And for himself, he joined our program. He was interested in financial analytics. So if you're interested in financial analytics, this is somebody that you can look up to. Okay, he joined our financial analytics program in December, and by October 2025, he had a job as a senior operations consultant with Bank of America in the United States using the same strategy. I have a couple of people here as well. Chika right here on my slide, for Chika, he was able to get a full-time role as a financial analyst right there in the UK. We taught him, we helped him gain internship, we helped him build a portfolio, we prepared him for his interview. All right. Then I have Solomon here. For Solomon, he had an engineering background. So if you're here right now and you think, I don't have a background in finance, neither do I have a background in HR. Solomon is somebody you can reference, somebody that literally, had an engineering background and then he was able to transition into being a financial analyst. Then we have Akintayo right here, and we also have Grace. So we might not be able to talk through all of the stories, all of the testimonials, but one thing I've done for you is to leave links to their testimonials, links to their videos, so you get to hear for yourself, and then you can see that, yes, these people are real and they've got the experience. Now, remember, the focus is, how do I get a job? What do I need? Where a lot of people make mistakes is to assume that, oh, this employer will be looking for certificates. Meanwhile, in the tech space, what they're looking for is just two things: skills and experience. The tools you know how to use, how you've used them before, and your experience using those tools. These are the two things employers are looking forward to: skills and experience. So immediately you're sat in front of the employer, they are assessing your skills, they are assessing your experience. All right. Now, you want to ask that big question. I'm somebody without any technical background or experience. So how do I, gain the skills in such a way that the employer knows that I can do that thing or I can use these tools? Now, the best way to gain the skills if you want to land a job is to learn in a project-based environment. Remember, I said there are skills you'll be learning. There are tools you'll be learning how to use. The best way to learn anything on Mother Earth is to use that thing to solve problems, is to use that thing to work on tasks, use that thing to work on projects. That is the best way to learn. That is why for a lot of people that go on YouTube, Coursera, and all of that, they are unable to transition because they are not gaining experience. They're just getting theoretical knowledge. Okay, the best way to learn anything remains by doing with that thing, by using the tools, the skills to solve problems. And that's what you're getting here at Analytics. Remember, the focus is to get a job. So it's not enough to tell the employer, I know how to use this thing, or I've used this thing before. You need to show them. You need to showcase your work. They need evidence that you've done it before, right? This is the best way if you want to land a job. Now, when it comes to experience, remember, the best way to gain it is by working on project, working on task. All right. Now, imagine somebody comes to tell you that, oh, I'm a carpenter, right? I got a certificate from Harvard. I can literally make you beautiful couches and furnitures. right? And then the next person comes to tell you, they literally show you, these are the furnitures that I've been able to build. Okay, these are the things I've done. Which person would you trust? The person that has done the work, the person that has built couches, the person that has worked on furnitures. And that is what working on projects does for you. The employer is able to see that this person has done it before. Right? So the way to gain experience, projects, number one. And then you need internship as well. So here at Analytics, you're also getting internship. And we partnered with a company, right? So you don't have to worry about internship placement. Or do I start looking for internship? No, you do the internship, already partnered with the company, and every single thing is remote. And guess the beautiful part? Somebody without prior experience, because of the way you are learning here at Analytics and the internship you're getting, that reflects on your CV. So you would have on your CV that you've worked for Analytics and you've also worked for Amdari as a consultant. That way you have two solid work experiences backed by CV. And of course, you have to show evidence of your work in a portfolio. Now, I talked about positioning, all right? I talked about the need for CV. It's not enough for you to just have the skills, have a portfolio. You need to stand out. That is where working on your CV, that document that goes into the room before you do. It is very important that it is properly reviewed and revamped. This is what you're getting here at Analytics. Then, of course, your LinkedIn profile, it will be worked on. Now, there's something called navigating the job market. These jobs you want to apply for, the financial analytics jobs, the HR analytics job, where do you find these jobs? How do you even apply to them? That is where Analytics comes in. We will teach you how to apply to the jobs. These are the strategies you need. These are the, things you need to put in place in order to apply. But we don't stop there. We would also provide jobs for you to apply to. Imagine getting on a meeting, like this, where it is Operation Job Application. So you're literally faced with somebody that would walk you through, okay, you're applying for this job, you're applying for this job right there on the spot. Okay, so you're being taught how to apply to these jobs and will provide jobs for you to apply to. Then, of course, interview preparation. I talked about this earlier. This is how you position. Okay, so you have experts that would do their findings on the company. You have an interview coming up. They'll do their findings on the company, right? They're able to preempt the questions you're likely to get and prepare you for those questions. Then, of course, you're being offered job reference letter. Remember, on your CV, you'd have Analytics and Amdari, and you would reach back. You need reference letters to, keep the job. We're able to provide you with that. Then, on the job support as well, weekly mentorship sessions, as well as weekly, Upwork optimization sessions. These are the things that you get here at Analytics. Now, let's talk about the entire learning timeline. Now, the entire learning timeline here at Analytics is 8 months, and that is split into 6 months of learning and 2 months of internship. Your learning will be done with Analytics. Now, in the learning process, you get live classes where you interact with these instructors. You get to solve problems together. You get to ask questions. You have somebody that will hold your hand through every step of the way. All right, that is what you get in the learning journey. You can ask questions any time of the day and you get those questions answered. Then you have internship as well. Remember, I said we already figured the internship out. We partnered with a company and you will be doing your internship with them. Okay, so this is literally what the learning timeline entails: 6 months of learning and 2 months of internship. Now, for your live classes, they happen only on Saturdays, and every single live class is for 3 hours. Live classes on Saturdays, every single live class is for 3 hours. We have the morning class, which is 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. UK time. All right. And we also have, this is best for people in Europe, UK, Africa. Then we have the evening class, which is 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. West African time. It is best for people in Canada, US, North America, because that would be 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Okay, so all in all, you're able to pick the class that works best with your schedule and attend that class. All right. Now, we also have the mentorship sessions, like I talked about. Every single live class is recorded here at Analytics because we understand that, majority of us trying to transition are busy professionals, but we still want to upskill. So you might not be present in every single live class, but we've ensured that the live classes are recorded so that you can go through the recording. And guess what? You have a lifetime access to these recordings. Okay, so it's a new journey for you. All right, you've attended a live class, you have questions. Do you have to wait till every Saturday before you get your questions answered? No. So you can get real-time support from your facilitators, from the instructors every day of the week. All right, so say that you're unable to attend the live class on Saturday. You've gone through the recording on Sunday or Monday, and you have questions. You're able to book for a session with the instructor. You get to speak with them. They get to handhold you and answer every single question that you may have. Now, that being said, I've literally shown you the path, what you need to do to transition into data analytics, healthcare analytics, financial analytics, HR analytics. So the onus is on you right now. You basically can't stay where you are. You literally have to make a change this year. You have to decide that this is the year where I get to upskill. This is the year where it gets better for me. All right. So, how can you literally start? How can you make that big decision to get a better job, one that wouldn't get you burnt out or stressed out, to basically to pivot into tech, a better career path in tech? It is by joining our next cohort, which begins on the 9th of May. All right. So it is by joining our next cohort, which begins on the 9th of May. So say you start on the 9th of May, by October, November, you're already applying to jobs. You already would get an interview. You get prepped for that interview. Okay, so you just have to make that choice today. So what would it cost for you to get into Analytics? What would it cost for you to have a company and hold you up until the point where you have to get a job? All right. Now, the full amount of the training is 8,250 US dollars. That's the full amount of the training. Okay. But because you're in this call, for those of us interested in healthcare data analytics, healthcare business analysis, financial analytics, HR analytics, right? Because you're on this call, I have 10 slots for you. Now, with this 10 slots, you're able to get 20% off. So you're no longer paying $1,250. All you will be paying is $1,000. This is just for 10 people. Now we're over times three of that on this call. So I've only got slots for 10 people. Okay, so you're able to pay $1,000 instead of 1,250 US dollars. And guess what? You don't even need the entire $1,000 to make that decision. What you need out of that is just 1/5 of it. You only need $200 to get started. Remember, this is just open to 20 persons that are interested in taking that leap, in taking that big decision. Okay, just 20 persons. Okay, so I would walk you through how to literally secure a spot right here on this call. All right. So as soon as I have 10 people, the price reverts back to normal. So you want to be amongst the 10 persons that will be taking advantage of the discount. So my colleagues will be dropping the link, the registration link right here in the chat. All right. So they will be dropping the registration link right here in the chat, and I will walk you through how you can register. All right. How you can be part of the 10 people. Okay. So I'm sharing my screen now, to the registration platform. As soon as you click on that link, it brings you here. Remember, whether you're interested in healthcare data analytics, financial analytics, HR analytics, just click the link that is dropping in the chat. Now, once you click on that, this would open up to you. You would scroll down a bit and then you see the different courses that we have here. You could be interested in Health Tech Analyst. Go click on that one, right? If it is HR Analytics, Financial Analytics, scroll down and you get to see that. Now, for the benefit of, every single person on this call, I will be doing a demo and I'm just going to use Financial Analytics for that demo. Now, as soon as you see the course you're interested in, after clicking the link, click on Enroll Now. All right, click on enroll now. Now, once you click on enroll now, it's going to verify your browser. Doesn't take a minute. All right. Now, it's going to verify your browser. Just ensure that you are on the course that you're interested in. Ensure that you are on the course that you are interested in. Now, it will open up this new window to you. Ensure to click on enroll now again. All right. Ensure to click on enroll now again. Now, once you do that, okay, it will ask you to register on the platform. Just put in your full name, your email address, and easy peasy, it opens this up to you. This page where you have to confirm your enrollment. Now, you would see two cohorts, May or June. So for those of us that have a lot of things lined up for May, you're unable to get started in May, the discount is still open to you in June. All right. So you pick the cohort that works best for you and then scroll down. We've got payment options. Now, this has been shown to you in dollars. When you open the link, it's going to display in your local currency. So if you're in the UK, this is going to pop up in pounds. If you're in, say, Canada, this is going to pop up in CAD. If you're in, say, Italy, this is going to pop up in euros. So you pick the currency that works best for you, right? And then you see the various payment plan. So we have the 5 installments. That is if you're looking to pay $200 every month. By the 5th month, you get to complete the $1,000. All right. Then, you have the 2 installment plan. Now, if you want to go for the 2 installment plan, you're literally having 28% discount. So instead of paying $1,250, you will be paying a total of $900. That's if you're looking to go for the 2 installments, right? So you split the $900 into 2, and then you're able to pay $450 every month. And by the 2nd month, you complete the payment. Then we have the pay once option. So with this option, you'll be paying a total of $850. Let me quickly display this in pounds. Remember, if you're currently in the US, you just need $200 to get started. If you're in the UK, you need £153 to get started. That's all you need to get started using the 5 installment. Then if you're in Canada, you need 283 card to get started. Of course, if you're in Nigeria, you need 310,000 naira to get started. And if you're in, say, Italy, or Europe, you have 173 euros to get started. So you pick the one that works best for you between the 5 installment, the 2 installment, or the pay once option, and then scroll down. Okay, scroll down. All right, then check the box that says I confirm my information is correct and I've read the terms and conditions, and then go ahead to make payment. This applies to every single one of the training program. Click on the link that you have there on the slide. All right, click on the link you have there on the slide and then go ahead to, secure your spot. So before I go ahead to take questions, because right about now it's question and answer session, I have more for people that will register on this call. Okay, so I have more for you. So if you're looking to register on this call, okay, you're literally getting guaranteed success. Now, you're getting a lifetime access to the trainings here at Analytics. What that means is you complete your training this year. If by next year there's an update to the curriculum, you get access to that update and you get a lifetime access. So you can always go back at no extra cost. All right. And then if you fall behind, just know that you can always go to the next cohort to get started. All right. And then by the end of your 12th week here at Analytics, that's 3 months. By the end of 3 months, you would have 3 projects in your portfolio, and then you can start to apply to jobs. All right. So these are what you will be getting. Okay, so right about now, I will take your questions. Okay, just ensure that you're securing a spot. Now, for those of us that are unsure of the course we're interested in, just let me know in the chat if you're unsure. If you've not yet decided if it's financial analytics or HR analytics or LTech data analytics, LTech business analysis, just let me know in the chat so that we can have a conversation. All right. But if you've got a question at this point, this is where I take your questions. Okay. So if you have a question, Uh, please leave your question in the chat so that I can take your question. So Banti is asking how much in pounds. Okay, my colleague has responded. So we're a couple of us, 10 slots left, right? And just checking to see how many slots have been taken. So right now we have that 6 persons have been able to secure a spot. We have just 4 slots left. Okay, so if you want to pay, if you want to get that 20% discount off, if you want to get that 32% discount, if you want to get that 28% discount, you have to be amongst the 4 persons. All right. So if you have a question, this is the time where you get to drop your questions in the chat and I can take your question. So I see a couple of us here on the call. So if you have a question, please leave your question in the chat. Is it possible to get the data set? Absolutely. All right, so just fill the attendance form so that when the slide is shared, it's in the slide. All right, so when you get the slide, you're going to get access to the data set and then you can use the data set, go over the recording as well. So Sam is saying, thanks so much. Absolutely, Sam. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm unsure about the healthcare analytics, so we need to have a chat with first. All right, fantastic. So if you want to okay, data analytics. So yeah, on the payment platform, you get to see data analytics. So for you, Emmanuel, right, just fill the attendance form and drop your full name so that I can reach out to you and we get to have that conversation. All right, Emmanuel, just ensure you're filling the attendance form and then drop your full name as well so that I can call you immediately this conversation is over and we get to, have a one-on-one conversation. So, all right, fantastic. Just let me know your full name just in case there are a couple of Emmanuels here on the call. All right. So just let me know your full name and I will reach out as soon as this conversation is done with. So if you're just like Emmanuel and you're quite unsure, you don't know if you're going for health tech data analytics, health tech business analysis, financial analytics, or HR analytics, just let me know in the chat, right? Let me know that you'd like to be reached out to, and I will reach out to you. Okay, so Emmanuel, just taking note of your name, okay, so that I can reach out to you and we're gonna have that conversation. All right, so are there any more questions? Are there any more questions? Okay, just remember that we have just 2 slots left now. If you want to take advantage, just 2 slots, okay? And then the discount is over off the table. So I don't see any more questions in the chat. So what I'm going to do right now, just so that I know that everybody is here with me and then you are also taking part of the session, I'm going to call your name. All right. If you don't have a question, just indicate using a no. So Banti says they want to start. Banti, is that a name you registered with so that I can also look out for you and then reach out to you? Would there be an unlimited access to the tutors too? Yes, absolutely. So you do have unlimited access where you get to ask questions. We have people from way back 2022, after they got their first jobs and they want to upskill, they want a better job, they're able to still come back to get prepped for interview, to get mentorship and all of that. So you get full-time access. Okay, Bantis, I registered with Gabriel on the link. All right, fantastic then. So I will be reaching out to you, Gabriel. Okay, so I see more questions in the chat, but it was not forthcoming. All right, Temitope, I really do understand you. All right, but then you can see the success stories here at Analytics, and we've been doing this for over half a decade already. Okay, been doing this for over half a decade with over 4,000 plus people that have been able to get jobs after training. So we literally keep to our end of the bargain. Okay, and we walk the talk through every step of the way. So I completely understand you. You've been burnt before, right? But what we do here at Analytics is quite different. So Adebola is saying, I've learned these tools. I just need a platform to land first job. So you might want to consider, do you have a portfolio, Adebola? A portfolio that showcases your experience, that you know how to use the tools, not just that you've learned it. Do you have a portfolio? Not robust. So that is what you need. That's one thing you're lacking, right? So you might want to consider our sister company, Dari, where they get to walk you through internship experience. They help you work on more projects. You get a portfolio and you can get other mentorship and the like so that you can get your first job since you've learned all the tools. So Temitope is asking, is the help guaranteed? Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so you get that you get all the help that you need, right? Because we understand that this is completely online, so you'd have questions as well. You're able to book for a session, get on the session, share your screen, just the same way I'm sharing my screen. You're literally working through a tool. You're able to share your screen and then tell the instructor, oh, I wrote down this formula. I'm working with this financial statement. I'm working with this data set. I wrote down this thing, but it's not giving me the exact output. They're able to talk you through what you need to do. So absolutely, right? The help is guaranteed, Temitope. You just need to ensure that you're good to go. You figured out the path for you and you're registered for the course. All right, so I don't see any more questions in the chat. I take it that I've been able to take your questions. All right. So if there are no more questions, I'm just gonna can you link me up, please? Yes, absolutely, Adebola. Just leave your full name, Adebola, so that I can have somebody from there reach out to you. Ensure you filled the form. Okay, the attendance form at Debola, and please leave your full name. So Iberi is saying, I have a question. This in healthcare, how do I start? So for you in healthcare, you literally have like options. You have the healthcare data analytics, you have the healthcare business analysis, you have the healthcare project management. Now, one thing that would help you decide is take a look at yourself, Iberi. Are you somebody that likes to be at the forefront? You like to speak to people a whole lot. If possible, you want to lead a team. Then you want to consider the healthcare business analysis or the healthcare project management. But if you like to work independently, okay, you don't like to talk to people too much, you just want to be at the background, then you want to consider healthcare data analytics. So which of this speaks to you, Ebere? Are you somebody that is people facing, you like to speak to people, or you like to be at the background? Just let me know which one is really best for an introvert. Then you want to look at data analytics, financial analytics, data analytics, financial analytics. Yeah, so Ebere, you want to consider the LTech business analysis. That one, right? That's the one you want to consider. LTech business analysis. Okay. So when are you looking to start Ebere? Yeah. So Tammy, which one is really best for an introvert? I hope I've been able to answer that. Healthcare data analytics. Okay. So if you want to have like more conversations before you go ahead to register, just let me know so that I can note that and then reach out to you to have a conversation. So Iberi is saying by July. All right, that's a good time, dude, but I can't guarantee that this discount, we only have 2 slots left. So by July, you may have to pay the entire thing. Okay, so I will be reaching out to you as well, Iberi. Okay. So, do I have more questions before we call it a day? Okay, are there any more questions? Just let me know in the chat before we go ahead to. Yeah, Timmy. Timmy, just leave your name in the chat so that I reach out to you. Okay, your full name basically, the one you filled on the attendance form so that I know it's you and I can reach out to you. All right. So that being said, I don't see any more questions in the chat. So I really, really appreciate you for taking out your time to join us for the past 2 hours, 5 minutes. I hope you've had a good time. Myself, I've had a good time speaking to every single person that has asked me a question, right? And then I really do hope that I see you in class. Okay. I really do hope that I see you in class. So, is somebody saying something? Okay, so I really do hope that I see you in class. All right. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for joining in and bye for now. Cheers.